infrastructure development, President Buhari inaugurates new terminal at Port Harcourt Airport.
The recent decision by the federal government to remove value-added tax from domestic air transportation is in line with global best practices.
African Union Commission chairperson ends two-day working visit to Nigeria today.
Federation Account Allocation Committee shares more than 648 billion naira among the three tiers of government as revenue for September 2018.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on electioneering campaigns and the 2019 polls.
As political parties conclude on their primaries and names of candidates submitted to INEC preparatory to the general elections, the parties are now warming up for the next stage of political activities, which is electioneering campaigns.
That's right, Joy. Today, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is expected to announce the names of the candidates who will participate in the forthcoming general elections.
Now, this development will further clear the coast for the official electioneering campaigns by the political parties and their candidates for the various elective offices in the country.
Now, according to the INEC timetable for political activities, electioneering campaigns for presidential and National Assembly elections will commence on the 18th of November. That's just about 3 weeks from now, while the governorship campaigns will kick off on the 1st of December this year.
Now, however, Kingsley, it is on record that Nigeria's electioneering campaigns over the years have always been characterized by horse trading, intrigues, blackmails and empty promises by political parties or actors.
Well, one question to therefore ask is, how will the 2019 general elections campaigns look like? Now, will the campaigns also go the way of the past, as you've just indicated, or are we likely to witness a new approach to political campaigns, especially with the proliferation of both traditional and online media? And how, of course, to avoid a campaign of calumny and blackmail and insult and indeed hate speech. Those will be some of our talking points on Good Morning Nigeria today, which is, as always, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to the program.
And I am Joy Usiag, also welcoming you to today's edition of the program, Reaching You Live, as Kingsley said, from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, Africa's largest television network. As usual, we shall present our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign and entertainment news. But first, let's join our colleague Anne Jibuno for the early morning news. Hello, Anne.
Hello, Joy and Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria, and here's the morning news. The new terminal building for Port Harcourt International Airport on Magwa, Rivers State, has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. This is not only in furtherance of his administration's infrastructure renewal program, but represents a significant landmark for international air travelers from the Niger Delta region.
Nigeria, having an advantageous central location within the sub-region and our desire to develop into regional air transportation hub, must upgrade its facilities to take advantage of its assets. The recent decision by the federal government to remove value-added tax from domestic air transportation is in line with global best practices.
And the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture Town Hall Meeting Series moved to Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, with a special edition on the infrastructure sector in the last 3.5 years of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration.
This administration, realizing that no nation develops without massive investment in infrastructure, has made such investment a priority, and this is paying off.
Let me say quickly that in the southwest of Nigeria today, including Lagos, we had 67 road contracts, 67. We added another one.
Nigeria's role in the attainment of the African Union's Agenda 2063 is considered crucial. Now, chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mwasa Faki Mahamat, on its second day official visit to Nigeria, is seeking more contribution from the country. This was at a ministerial roundtable with the chairperson held at the office of the Chief of Staff at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The ministerial roundtable was chaired by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema.
When you are big, everybody looks up to you, and therefore you have also major responsibilities and obligations. So therefore it's only to the big ones that you ask for more, to do more.
It was an excellent meeting, and on the basis of this meeting, we plan to now have a coherent policy on our engagement with the African Union.
The absence of early warning remains a major challenge to early response by security agencies. In view of this, the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mungunu, is advocating development of community-led early warning systems by Nigerians and key players at all levels as a way of tackling insecurity.
These incidents have been the handwork of non-state actors with a proclivity for capitalizing on our inherent diversity as a country to plunge the country into an orgy of violence and bloodbath.
Lack of adequate social amenities and consequences of separation of family units are among major challenges facing the internally displaced persons at the Zugeru camp in Wushishi local government area of Niger State. These were the observations when the national president of the Police Officers' Wives Association visited the camp.
Prayer that more hands will come on board to help elevate your feelings.
Your visit today, our dear co-president, would be a memorable one.
The Federation Account Allocation Committee has shared more than 648 billion naira among the 3 tiers of government as distributable revenue for the month of September 2018. The Minister of Finance and Chairman, Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, Zainab Ahmed, said the amount is about 57 billion naira less than that of last month.
Amount after the cost of collections to the 3 tiers of government are as follows. To the federal government of Nigeria, the amount to be distributed is 265.679 billion naira. To the 36 states is 134.753 billion naira. To the local governments, it's 103.888 billion naira.
The minister attributed this to the shutdown of pipelines, which resulted to reduction in production. Our industrialists have been urged to encourage young Nigerians by financing and promoting their inventions to drive the nation's quest for industrialization on using homegrown technology. This was the message of the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, at the grand finale of the NTA ETV Children's Expo 2018 in Abuja.
A few years back, some investors came and actually bought inventions from some of these students. We need to encourage them by using their inventions.
We lost out in the Industrial Revolution. We cannot lose out in the technological development.
Well, that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Joy and Kingsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
the 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive, be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Your favorite Maggi star now wears a new look. Its great taste and quality still remain the same. With Maggi, every woman is a star. Maggi!
Every new day deserves a great taste for a great start with Nescafe 3-in-1. It all starts with a Nescafe.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
Just a little love, just a little giving, show some love.
Enjoy free 250 MB every week just by recharging on Airtel Recharge Plus. Dial *479# to know more.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
NTA Television College, Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, is organizing a 2-week course in Archival Management System of Broadcast Media. Date, 5th to 16th November 2018. Venue, NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos. Course fee, 100,000 naira per participant, accommodation inclusive. The course will equip participants with the techniques of automating recordings, cataloging, and analyzing media for storage and productions. Come and take advantage of this course to sharpen your skills in maintaining, conserving, and utilizing the archival system. For more information, please contact us on the following numbers: 0806 980 9807, 0803 314 4383. TV College Jos, training you to be the best you want.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria this Friday. Talking business now, federal government strategizes on ways to improve food security and livelihood of rural farmers. Comfort Amadu has details of this and other stories.
A warm welcome. We start with agriculture. Despite efforts made in the agricultural sector, farmers still grapples with challenges of access to land, finance, fertilizer procurement, and poor access to market, which often limits productivity and result in post-harvest losses. Considering these hurdles, the federal government says it is poised to tackle headlong via creation of enabling environment in partnership with agribusiness groups and creation of both local and international markets to enable farmers access markets and meet off-takers online.
2019, we are going on to maize and soya. The tomato issue was that we have succeeded in getting the federal government, Federal Executive Council to now come up with a tomato policy, which is now being implemented.
For Nigeria to become self-sufficient in food production, agriculturists say it is imperative for government to sustain agricultural policies to drive the economy. They also provide strategies and solutions to minimize high cost of food in the country.
Everybody is looking at agriculture, so that reawakening is very, very critical. And then again, we have never had fertilizer at a very controlled price in this country until now. This presidential initiative brings fertilizer to the farmers at 5,000 and 5,500 sustainably, and that is very, very good.
The draft bill that are with the National Assembly, which will facilitate and aids agricultural production, food security, in line with the agenda of the current administration.
And in the meantime, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, has released its quarterly report on the Pioneer Status Incentive Scheme, covering the period since the lifting of the administrative suspension of the scheme in August 2017 to June 2018. A total of 81 new applications were received, out of which 19 were approved and 14 declined. The remaining applications are at various stages of processing. The approved applications represent a total investment of 680 billion and 5,417 jobs across different sectors, mainly in manufacturing, real estate, power and ICT, and telecommunications. And that report takes us to the closing figures of the trades on the floor of the exchange. Many thanks for watching. I'm Comfort Amadu.
Thank you very much, Comfort Amadu, for the business package. Next for us now is a review of the stories on the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebi, is here to do justice to the headline stories this morning. Thanks for joining us, Bayo.
Thank you, Joy. Good morning. Good morning, Kingsley.
Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria. Thank God it's Friday.
That's right. It's been a long week. Eh? Okay, let's begin with the New Telegraph. From top to bottom, you have a number of stories there. It's a busy front page. New Telegraph, above the nameplate, says federal government bans unauthorized use of drones and broadcast equipment, with the rider moves against abuse of social media and hate speech. And below the nameplate, you have other headlines. Let's take three of them. It says Buhari inaugurates $600 million Port Harcourt International Airport. That's on page 4 in greater detail. 20 die as boat capsizes in the Benue River.
That's on page 8. That would be on Benue River, not in, I believe, prepositionally. Both capsizes on Benue River. Then 13-year-old maid's death. That's the kicker. Lecturer arraigned for rape and culpable homicide. That story has been trending, and Bayo, of course, you take a look at that. That's on page 8. 13-year-old maid's death, lecturer arraigned for rape and culpable homicide. A late story comes with a kicker as well. 2019 presidency, power will return to Southwest in 2023 if Buhari wins, and that's according to Fashola, who is Minister of Works, Power and Housing. But you have 3 riders to that. Atiku's incursion unsettles APC. Kogi governor, PDP not a pushover, and INEC clears President Atiku and 68 others for presidential election. Details can be found inside the paper. And there is a story there that you can see the photograph of the lady, just on the right-hand column there. It says, I suffered 4 major health issues before giving birth at 67, says retired matron. That story is on page 5, and you can find out how the IVF was performed and how she and the baby are doing. Biafra, Defense Headquarters vow to crush Kanu's health threat. And troops, of course, take down 35 criminals, arrest 98 suspects in 2 weeks. And lastly, stress may impair memory and thinking skills. Details on page 6.
All right, Kingsley and Bayo, let's go to the Punch newspaper and find out stories trending there. The lead story says, my credentials still with military, Buhari tells INEC, and it comes with 2 riders, over 70 candidates to contest presidential poll. Atiku declares 60.2 million income, 10.8 million tax payment. You can get details of that story on page 7. Now let's move to the top. That's a little bit above the nameplate for stories. 18 die in Benue boat accident. The story is on page 12. Ganduje's bribery video authentic, says journalist. Missing general, police declare village head, others wanted. Voting for Buhari will return power to Southwest in 2023. That's coming from Fashola, and you can get details of the story on page 8. Now let's go to the foot of the front page. Dixon renews call for restructuring peaceful elections. Panic in Jos as Mark Sojo's kill bank guard. And IG quizzes Emmanuel's campaign team in Abuja.
But let's start with the human interest stories, and about 2 or 3 of them. There is the boat capsize report. There are conflicting figures. One paper is reporting 18, one is 20. In fact, another reported 40 persons that are not accounted for. This happened on River Buruku. Passengers were said to be returning from going to a burial ceremony, as well as women who had clothes from Ugba market. They got onto a boat with 18 motorcycles, and eventually the boat went under. In 2012, 17 persons were lost around that same Buruku area where this boat capsized. Kingsley, you recall some time ago when there was this boat capsized in Kebbi, where several lives were lost. We raised the alarm with Nigerian inland waterways to ensure that wherever they use such things, there should be life jackets. It will go a long way to at least limiting some of these tragedies. Unfortunately, at Dono neighbor in Nasarawa, at Ashawa, another boat capsized, this time involving some 17 persons. The district head of that area, Joseph Maman Amagbo, actually said an underage child were allowed to paddle persons across the river. So you can see some of the carelessness that sometimes lead to these unfortunate tragedies. But particularly, emphasis has to be laid when people are rushing in the evening, close of market, people going to burial. So the boat is forced to carry more passengers and goods than it beyond its capacity.
That's right, Bayo. I mean, that speaks obviously to the operational manuals of the boat operators, as well as, in particular, the safety measures that they adopt. Life jackets aren't so expensive anymore. Yeah. So I think it's imperative, because they have their jetties where they berth, and therefore it should be a lot easier to send monitors to those jetties, and the monitors would insist on appropriate measures being taken. As rightly observed by you, it's usually what would be their own rush hour. For instance, that you find that these boats get overloaded with both human and cargo, human beings and cargo, and almost unfortunately, some of these accidents occur. And for an underage child to have been paddling a canoe or a boat, that's serious enough. I mean, why would passengers, opt to be conveyed, if you like, by an underage child, assuming that the child really was underage and is not a dwarf.
It will be. I know Buruko. I schooled in Benue, so I know Buruko very well. I think the key word is monitoring, because if you go to areas like that, some of them will tell you they know nothing about life jackets, and of course those who patronize them are busy thinking of how to cross from one side to the other side. So. The rush and all that.
The Nigerian inland waterways must take note of this strictly across the nation.
Very important.
The other human interest story relates to a 13-year-old girl who died from alleged rape and assault by an aunt's son and later on the father. A combination of civil society groups led by National Council of Women Societies even yesterday protested to the Ministry of Justice. It is said that the aunt's son had been raping the girl at age 8. One day, the father caught the son and he stopped. However, the father continued until the girl was age 13. The poor girl, who had been raped severally and sodomized, eventually developed VVF and died at age 13 from the complications of that. Now, the women groups are demonstrating seriously, and already Benue State government has made a statement on it. The deputy governor of Benue State has described it as inhuman and shameful. Benue State government will ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. Meanwhile, the lecturer, 51-year-old, has already been charged to a magistrate court in Makurdi, and the magistrate has now remanded him in prison custody. His son is said to be on the run, but there's no word from the aunt, the mother of the son, and the wife of the husband who committed. He's the head of department in a polytechnic in the state. Yeah, can you imagine that?
That's very interesting. I'm sure the director can take that photograph again of the accused. It's just below the nameplate of New Telegraph. That's right. That's his face over there. And unfortunately, well, the young teenager has passed away now, so her right is not obviously violated when we show a photograph. That's right. So, there must be some factors, beyond what is just abnormal or aberrant behavior.
Yes, we treated the topic on Nigeria Today last week, and from what we heard from the psychologists and the psychiatrists, this has to do with some mental situation. And it's not just this man. It's on the increase. You read newspapers every day. You hear one story or the other. And this should be a call to action.
Yes, week in, week out, reports about rape, father to daughter.
Incest?
Yes, incest. All over. It's a matter of concern.
Yeah, that's fine. But right now it's in court, and what should be ensured is diligent prosecution. So the various entities, including civil society organizations, that brought this story to the fore, should track that story, should track the story and the prosecution, and ensure that indeed, whoever has been accused faces the consequences of the law. Of course, you have your opportunity of defending yourself. All right, Bayo, let's go to the Daily Sun. You've already talked about the conflicting figures arising from the tragedy on River Benue. So that's your lead story. One of the earpiece also relates to the ANEC list. That's the story that is jumping ahead of the formal announcement of those who INEC has as candidates of the parties for the presidential election. So we'll go right away now to the bottom half. You can see the bottom half of the Daily Sun newspaper front page. Buhari commissions Port Harcourt Airport, says aviation catalyst for growth. President Buhari there to the left, Ngige, that's Minister of employment, labor and employment, Wike, governor of Rivers, and then there's Sirika, who is Minister of State Aviation. Now, below that, you have other headlines. Senator Itagewa dumps APC for PDP, that's page 8. Plateau, police declared district head and 7 others wanted over general's disappearance. Students and staff of Unijust killed in just violence. That's according to ASU, page 5. And court restrains EFCC from arresting Rivers government contractors and lawyers. And lastly, on page 9 in greater detail, Ganduje bribery scandal video real. That's according to the publisher that published the story in the first instance, and he made that statement at the hearing of a committee of the Kano State House of Assembly. The publisher too says BBC and Amnesty authenticated report. Bayo.
All right, let's go quickly to the Daily Trust before Bayo would come in here. The Daily Trust newspaper, the lead story there, bribe Kano panel to review video in Ganduje's presence. Clips authentic, not doctored, publisher tells committee. And a little bit below the nameplate, commission frustrates birth registration by charging fees. INEC publishes particulars of presidential candidates. Federal government, states, local government areas share 648 billion naira for September. And the picture story there, you can see Theatre Commander Operations Lafia Adole Major General Abadiko addressing 28 children associated with armed groups during their handover ceremony to the state government in Maiduguri yesterday. Yes. Okay, Byron, let me take the editorial quickly so you can put everything together. Our editorial for today is taken from the New Telegraph, and it is titled Verification of Defunct Nigeria Airways Retirees. One sure way of gauging a people's humanity and compassion is how they treat their senior citizens, and the recent verification exercise of former Nigerian Airways workers once again highlighted very forcefully the pain and anguish Nigeria visits on its senior citizens. Old people, some of them in their 80s, were compelled to come out in large numbers for the exercise. The sight of these senior citizens, some in wheelchairs and crutches, others assisted by their children and grandchildren, was heart-wrenching, to say the least. Now, seeing these seniors, some lying down on bare floor, some with heads bowed in tiredness, and yet others almost dying of exhaustion, is a disgrace to the nation. Unfortunately, we have lost our sense of shame. Bayo?
Well, before I come to that editorial, let's quickly look at the situation about the Port Harcourt Airport. Port Harcourt International Airport was commissioned yesterday by Mr. President, and the President said it is part of the plan for infrastructural development for economic growth, and particularly it is significant in the sense that it will aid the travelers of the South in that area. And he also pointed out that government has adopted a deliberate policy of charging zero VAT for domestic air transportation. This is to make air transportation more affordable to citizens. I hope they will apply that to the railway too, so that the middle class and the lower people can also use them very well. The governor, Jason Wike, says that it will go a long way to improving the economy of Rivers State and also improve the situation of employment. Minister of State for Aviation actually revealed that the airport has a capacity for about 15 million passengers, and that is 7 million passengers. That is 15 times the capacity for Ghana. And the same is going to go for Port Harcourt, Kano, Lagos and Abuja. The airports are to be upgraded to international aviation standard. There is the other report that Kingsley also read, coming for fallout from the military operations in Jos. The district head of Duradu and 7 others have been declared wanted by the police in Plateau. You recall that the military that were looking for traces about Major General Idris Alkali had handed the 13 persons they arrested in connection with that to the police. Through the investigation, the police have now seeking for the district of Duradu and 7 others about the case. Now the editorial. The editorial is expressing concern why it had to take as long since the Nigeria Airways was liquidated in 2003. Why did it take this long before these persons were paid? And particularly, it's lamenting that it's not treating senior citizens well when you have to force all of them to converge to Lagos for verification processes. In fact, sadly, one retiree had to come from the hospital bed for the verification, and unfortunately, the retiree did not survive. And so the editorial is happening on the fact that best practices should be borrowed from abroad, how they treat their senior citizens. But they don't have to look far. PITAD here in Nigeria, when they do verification, they distribute the verification across the nation. And where there are indications that there are some senior citizens who cannot come along, they follow them through their addresses and go and meet them where they are. I think that is what everybody should adopt when it comes to treating senior citizens who have given their youth and their best to the nation and deserve to be treated with honor and respect.
Absolutely, Bayo. That's, we can't agree anymore with you on what you have just said. One story we didn't have time to discuss, Bayo, and that's from you. That's the federal government banning unauthorized use of drones and broadcast equipment. There was a high-level meeting yesterday presided over by the National Security Advisor. But arising from that meeting, quite aside from the ban on the use of drones and broadcast equipment, it's a call for community-based intelligence gathering system that, early warning signs, ordinarily should be picked up from the various communities, and those signs relate to the appropriate authorities, which brings to question the role of local governments. And you ask yourself, 774 local governments, where this crisis starts from, and not, a whisper and not a whimper and not a sign or indication from the authorities that something is likely to happen. How were the colonial authorities doing this? They were using the district officers, as well as what they did, with traditional rulers and traditional authorities. Unless we came back to that, of course, we wouldn't be able to get out of what we are seeing now. You were touching on that a brief while ago.
Drones, I don't know. Drones, I don't know, but broadcasting, you ought to have a license before you can indulge in it. So indulging in broadcasting is illegal without a license.
Absolutely. Bayo, you said thank God it's Friday, so we'd like to thank you for for being with us all through the week. We hope you enjoy your weekend, and see you again next week. All right, let's say good morning, Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll be talking politics and the campaigns for the 2019 elections.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Your favorite Maggi star now wears a new look. Its great taste and quality still remain the same. With Maggi, every woman is a star.
Maggie!
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils! Strepsils! Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Helen! Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10. Thank you. This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now? Sure. This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X. Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
You are welcome, sir.
as usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mom to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
How they are cooked.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dental Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs dental protection.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Now, to kickstart our conversation this morning, let's take this background report from our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye.
With the completion of primary elections by various political parties in preparation for the 2019 general elections, campaigns are imminent. Despite the completion of the primaries, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has, however, instructed political parties to refrain from commencing campaigns, as Section 99 subsection 1 of the Electoral Act prohibits campaigns by political parties earlier than 90 days before the election day. Based on the provisions of the Electoral Act and the timetable and schedule of activities issued by the Commission, campaigns for presidential and National Assembly elections are to commence on November 18, while campaigns for the governorship and state assembly elections kick off December 1 this year. The concluded primaries, however, generated some intra- and inter-party wranglings that may shape the campaigns. Political campaigns in Nigeria have always been characterized by character assassination, getting to a peak during the 2015 campaigns. In a bid to rewrite the narrative, Independent National Electoral Commission as well as civil society organizations have been making passionate appeals to political parties to make their campaigns issue-based and avoid hate speech and situations that could heat up the polity. In this regard, the electoral umpire has been urged not to withhold sanctions on parties that run foul of its guidelines. Security is another aspect stakeholders are saying is too critical to be handled with kid gloves. What best practices should guide a forthcoming electioneering campaign? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria are very much ready to give their perspectives.
All right, thank you very much, Kunle Adeye, for that background report. We have with us here in the studios the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, that's Elijah Lai Mohammed, to kickstart this conversation. We have two other guests, of course, who will join us later on in the course of the conversation. Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, pleasure to have you with us.
Good morning.
On the program today. You've also been very busy. We know that it's electioneering season, and in your home state of Kwara, you've been quite busy. And yesterday you were in the southwest, and today you are here with us in Abuja. So busy season for everybody. But ahead of the 2019 elections, barely 3 months away now, what is it that we are looking forward to in terms of the atmospherics, in terms of the issues, in terms of indeed what the voters ought to watch out for?
Thank you very much. I think for a government who has been on in the saddle for almost 3 years, 5 months now, what the electorate would want to hear is what have you done in 3.5 years? What were the promises you made to us? Have you kept them? For a government who has been in the saddle for this length of time, it's not about name calling or mud slinging. It should be about what exactly have you achieved in the areas of fighting insecurity, providing infrastructure, fighting corruption, impacting on the lives of Nigerians. And this is what we as a government, we're very proud of our achievement. We are comfortable to discuss. We did promise Nigerians that we were going to revamp the economy. And one of the major planks of revamping the economy is investment in infrastructure. Here we talk about power, talking about roads, we're talking about rail, talking about water. And this is one area that we have a beautiful scorecard. And I'll start with power. On the 29th of May 2015, power generated in Nigeria was about 4,000 megawatts. Even though before we came in, power had been privatized. But today as we speak, we are generating over 7,000 megawatts of power. And this came about because the federal government provided a 701 billion naira payment assurance program put in place to ensure that gas suppliers, power generating companies are able to go, do their jobs, even when the discos are not in a position to pay them. So what we first did was we put in place this 701 billion naira and encouraged the GENCOs and the gas suppliers to go ahead, and we will pay them while we sort the matter with the discos. So today, from 4,000 megawatts, we have 7,000 megawatts just in 3.5 years. Distributable power, when we came in, only 2,690 megawatts of power was being distributed. We came in again with the distribution expansion program. We have been able to raise it to over 5,000 megawatts. Now, the capacity, transmission capacity, when we came in, was barely 5,000. Today is 7,125. So we can say and ask Nigerians, do you spend more money on diesel today than you spent in 2015? Do you have longer supply of power from the grid than you did in 2015? And the important thing, which is critical, is that this is a government that is doing much more with less. as opposed to those who had more money than we had and did less. In the area of roads, I have traveled to every geopolitical zone, at least 4 now, inspecting the progress of government in roads. And again, we have a success story to tell. We took a 100 billion naira sukuk bond, which we divided into the 6 geopolitical zones equally, and with that we are today funding 25 critical road projects all over Nigeria. But the results are showing the travel time today between Lagos and Ibadan has reduced drastically. We have not completed the road, but those who use it will tell you, before they used to sleep on the Lagos-Ibadan road. It doesn't happen again. The Shagamu, Ore, Benin road, again, travel time, accidents have reduced because of the work we're doing. I was in Ilorin, Jeba road in September. It used to take 5-6 days to move from Ilorin to Jeba because the road had collapsed. Today you can do the same journey in less than 2 hours. I was in the southeast. I traveled from Enugu to Port Harcourt via Aba, and I could see that the 4 sectors, the 4 contractors on that 240-kilometer road are all working. I traveled from Enugu to Onitsha to go and inspect the Second Niger Bridge. And the good news is that the federal government today has put in place a Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund with a seed money of $1.3 billion to ensure that 5 critical projects would not suffer from funding. These are the East-West Road, Second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Mambila Power Project, and the Abuja Kano Road.
All right, Honorable Minister, there's another area that I want you to speak to. 2019 is just here with us, and people will be going to the polls to vote. I want us to also look at the electorate. Can you talk about the social intervention programs? You were in Kwara and a few other places. Let's hear from you. What is the reaction of the electorate to these programs? Especially lately, we've been hearing so much about trader money.
Well, you see, we have various components of the social investment program, and I'll deal with the 4 or 5 of them. The first is the Empower. And as of today, the Empower has employed 500,000 unemployed graduates. 500,000. Now, we have the school feeding program of the SIP. And as we speak today, 9,200,000 pupils in 24 states of the Federation, covering over 45,000 schools, take 1 meal a day free. And in the process, we created over 87,000 cooks. So every school day, we feed 9.2 million young pupils. Now, our conditional cash transfer today covers 297,000 most vulnerable and poorest households every month, and they receive stipends from government. This, we work together with the World Bank to identify those who are most vulnerable and those who are poorest. And this is a pilot scheme which is taking place in all the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Our JIP, which is the government enterprises program, we give loans to corporations, to cooperatives from 50,000 to 100,000, about 50,000 sometimes. Today, over 400,000 organizations have benefited from it, and it's still growing. The trader money, which is one of the most popular projects we are doing today, is to really address the issue of the plantain seller, the retail seller, and we are targeting at least 2 million people that will benefit small soft loan of 10,000 from the trader money. So in terms of social investment program, we've impacted on almost 10 million lives, 9.2 pupils, 400,000 from JEEP, 500,000 unemployed graduates, and about 297,000 vulnerable households. So that is the impact that we have made on the lives of the common man just from the social investment program.
Sorry, Kingsley, let me just do a little follow-up. Still on this issue, because we've treated most of the social intervention programs in the studio here. We've had even beneficiaries come to talk about what they have gained so far. But of course, we notice that there are challenges. How do you intend to deal with these challenges and also to ensure that there's sustainability, you sustain the programs?
So you see, the beauty of our SIP is that our SIP programs are devoid of politics. If you want to participate or benefit from the Empower, you go online. So it's not as if, oh, you must be a member of one party or the other to benefit, and the beneficiaries will tell you this. Now, again, we spent a lot of time and energy with our consultants to ensure that we get it right from the beginning. That is why it seemed to be slow. But today you can see more states and more people joining each of these programs. And as for sustainability, we have ensured that the methods we are adopting and so that are not subjective. They are very objective.
So there's a structure, so that those who are running it now, if they're not there, it can run.
Oh, the system is not run. That's why I said the system is not run politically. The system is run by experts. It's run by people who have done similar things before, and is completely, devoid of politics.
All right, Honourable Minister, I'd like to return to the part of the question I asked earlier with regard to the atmospherics ahead of the 2019 elections. Well, of course, the papers that we reviewed this morning included reports from the meeting that the National Security Advisor chaired yesterday, focusing attention again on the potential misuse of social media. And arising from that, of course, is also the question of hate speech. So, from your perspective as the Minister in charge of Information and Culture, what particular concerns should there be with regard to political communication ahead of the elections?
I think you remember I've been here before. On this 11th of September, we launched a national campaign against fake news and hate speech. This is because we realized that the greatest danger to the 2019 election will be fake news and hate speech. Because what we've witnessed over the last couple of months is an intensification of fake news, exploiting the fault lines of the country along religion, along ethnicity. And even the BBC's report said that the farmer-herdsmen clashes is being fueled more by fake news than by anything. And the unfortunate incident in Kasuwa Magani and other towns in Kaduna State in the last week, a Catholic bishop said rumors and people died more from rumors and fake news than from gunshots. So really, the issue of fake news is a clear and present danger, not just to the 2019 election, but to the very existence of this country. And this is why you notice that my ministry, I spearheaded a campaign against, fake news and hate speeches, which has taken me to about 6 establishments so far. We've been to we've been to the Authority newspaper, we've been to channels, we've been to AIT, we've been to People's Daily. I think we've also visited another paper, and it's ongoing, because we want to appeal to the self-responsibility of this media organization, that they must understand that the first casualty of fake news and hate speeches, it will be the media itself. Because once a media organization is no longer credible, that is the end of the organization. And then we must all, as media practitioners, understand and appreciate the fact that fake news is not new. Neither is it unique to Nigeria. Different parts of the world, different measures have been taken to address it. Some countries like Zambia have actually legislated against fake news. Even the UK Parliament is waxing stronger and stronger against fake news. And I think in Israel, last week in Israel, certain very tough measures were taken against fake news by deleting several accounts. But the platforms such as social media platforms such as WhatsApp, Google, Facebook are also very concerned. And I think when I was in London last week, about 60,000 accounts were actually deleted by Facebook as a result of this fake news. So we must look at and address the issue of fake news as a serious issue. So many ridiculous things are being said about people on fake news, and the danger, like the bishop said, is that more people may die from rumors and fake news than even from gunshots. Because what happened in Kaduna last week was that there was a problem in Kasua Magani. The government of Kaduna State immediately took action. It was under control. Some hoodlums were trying to mount roadblocks, and then people started turning back without knowing what was happening. When they got back to Kaduna, they asked them what was happening. So people were killing Christians, are killing Muslims are killing Christians, and before you knew it, there was another problem in the state. So fake news is real. It's dangerous. We must all work towards, and especially in the run-up to 2019 elections, it become an issue. For a government that has performed like us, I keep saying, we don't have to engage in mudslinging or name-calling. Our achievements should speak for us. But the government cannot be indifferent to the menace of fake news, and this is why we have taken it on ourselves to campaign, to continue this campaign and appeal to all media organizations and let them understand that if they don't self-regulate, they will self-destruct.
Honorable Minister, you laid so much emphasis on traditional media. I think
social media,
because social media seem to be one of, if you look at the stories you see on Facebook, WhatsApp, these people go online quickly to post information, but traditional media practitioners will want to verify and balance the stories. So what are some of your agencies doing to see how they can educate the people, the electorate, and also talk to maybe bloggers and those who engage in
we have engaged we have personally engaged bloggers, social media influencers, and made them to understand the danger in fake news and hate speeches. In particular, we advise everybody, social media in particular, and everybody, that look, if you have any story, please check the credibility of the source. If you can't vouch for the source, don't share it. I was in London last week when the story about Nnamdi Kanu resurfacing in Israel broke out, and the next thing he said, I issued a statement threatening Israel that Israel does not release Nnamdi Kanu, we're going to attack them with missiles. But the sad thing that otherwise intelligent people, lawyers, academicians believed it, and they started sharing it. This is the danger about fake news. Honestly, I was baffled. I said, look, it's okay if some miscreant sits in a place and then manufactures or fabricates fake news, but for otherwise intelligent people to start commenting on it as if it is real. Number one, if you ask yourself,
maybe.
Well,
I'm wondering. I mean, sorry. When you were getting into this subject, I was chuckling because I'm sure you must have seen your caricature in the social media, of course. Yeah, precisely how you were going to attack Israel, and so on and so forth. I mean, some persons use this for entertainment purposes, but the dangers that you are highlighting are real. But there's one issue arising from all of this, because I talked about political communication, under which all of this, can be classified. Persons are also saying, I don't know how this can be managed much more effectively, when they feel that access to media is denied, particularly in the campaigns, and then there is a resort to some of the negative aspects of social media. You even saw during the primaries how all kinds of conflicting figures and reports were being posted. We have a potential danger on our hands. How do we overcome this?
Honestly, you see, we have a problem on our hands. And these kind of excuses people want to profile, that they don't have access to information, absolutely bunkum. I was in Ibadan yesterday, as you noticed, town hall meeting. This is the town hall meeting we had in Ibadan yesterday, was the 14th in the series of town hall meeting. And this is one of the innovations we brought to change the way government and people will interact. We have an FGN information app where information real time about government activities, can be obtained. Like I said, we have had 14 town hall meetings on various subject matters. We hold regular press conferences, we hold regular briefings. It is not correct for anybody today to say, fake news is growing because government is not giving us the news. Look, take the issue that the one I've just told you about, when they said I issued a statement threatening Israel. Now, what can you say is because government has not reacted? No, you see, unfortunately...
Look, Candice Purveyor, not Mayor. Are you saying?
you see, let me tell you, the truth of the matter is that with every innovative technology, there's the good side, there's the downside. Today, anybody with access to internet and the telephone can make up a story and it will go viral in minutes, in seconds. Now, and that is why the advocacy we've embarked upon is the only way. Appealing to social media influencers, to social media platforms. And like I told you, all the social media platforms like Google, like WhatsApp, like Facebook, are facing the same problem. And they understand that this is the monster they created. And they are working very hard. As a matter of fact, we're supposed to meet with Google sometimes next week to see how they can come to assist us.
How prepared is the NOA to address this issue?
The NOA, you see, the NOA is busy daily at the grassroots level in every language, addressing people on the danger of fake news, on the danger of hate speech. You see, people forget easily. April 2017, we foresaw this, and we had a special National Council on Information meeting on fake news, because we knew it was going to happen. So our appeal is for people to join this campaign. It's not about Ministry of Information alone. It's about Nigeria. You see, if you allow people to exploit our fault lines of ethnicity and religion to make up stories that will divide Nigeria, nobody is going to be a winner. And we have said, this government, we are not going to legislate against fake news. No. We're not going to coerce anybody, but we'll continue to appeal to media organizations, we'll continue to appeal to faith leaders. Because it's not just the social media. Even our leaders at times are responsible for this fake news, are responsible for these hate speeches.
I'm wondering, Honorable Minister, one aspect, you talked earlier about the National Council on Information dealing with aspects of fake news and the dangers. Has there been an evaluation of what the members of the National Council of Information have done in their respective states, other than what the Federal Ministry of Information and its agencies have been doing to put the issues of the counter issues against hate speech and fake news on the front burner. If you were to go to a state, for instance, are you likely to see it find on the local television, on the local radio stations, advisory messages saying, listen, if you have this kind of information, this is how you verify? Or how do you now put out the positive information very quickly to counter fake news that is spreading on the social media?
We would appreciate collaboration from states, and we hope if every, station can do what NT is doing to wage the war against fake news, I think we'll get there, faster. But we can only appeal to states. We don't have the coercive power to compel them. But I know even at the state level, these matters are even as active. Because while at federal level we talk only about, religion and ethnicity and political, it's even more divided again at the state level. And I think any responsible government at state level would support this, drive of us. For instance, today we have NTA, FRCN, TVC, NAN, the daily, People's Daily, partnering us in the fight against fake news and hate speech. And what we want to do is we want to have very soon a conference, of all these our partners, so that we can see the way forward. Where they can give us more space, more airtime, to fight this menace, because it's a real present danger to the very existence of the country.
How about engaging the state to join in this same collaboration to see how you can all work together?
It's going to feature very much at the next National Council of Information meeting, which we are arranging. But again, we will use this platform to appeal to all the states that it's not about APC or PDP, it's about Nigeria.
Well, so let's return again to political campaigns proper. I mean, some persons tended to have suggested that once the country got into the heat of elections, governance might suffer. What is the attitude of the federal government? Yeah,
you can see from what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, my colleagues, we've consigned political campaigning, electioneering campaign to the political party. We as a government will remain focused on our projects, because the only thing we can campaign on is what we have achieved. So our eyes have not left the ball. You have not heard that any Federal Council meeting has been cancelled or postponed as a result of the coming elections. Only yesterday, Mr. President was in Port Harcourt to commission the Port Harcourt Airport. I was with 3 of my colleagues in Ibadan, town hall meeting. All of my other colleagues are all busy, doing their job. I think that we have the separation of power. Let the party continue with the electioneering campaign. We, as a government, will provide them the ammunition they need, so to say, because if you go to the rostrum to campaign, what are you going to say? But because we have worked very hard in 3.5 years, you can go and campaign and say, look, when we came in, Nigeria was spending $1.65 billion a year on rice importation. That today has been cut by 90%. When we came in, there were 5 million rice farmers in Nigeria. Today we have 11 million rice farmers. These figures are not mine. These are figures belong to the RIFA, the rice, the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. We can campaign today, very comfortably to say that from 13 integrated, rice processing mills in 2015, we have 21 today. Fertilizers, we sold we distributed in 2017 alone 10 million bags. of 50 kg fertilizers at 5,500, naira. And I don't think anybody has heard about fertilizer trucks missing in the last 2 years, or farmers complaining that they have no access to fertilizer. So we have issues we can campaign about, and for us, we will continue to work until the very last moment and let the politicians, in quote, the political party, continue the campaign.
All right, talking about campaigns, for a while now we've been talking about political parties, primaries, politicians. Are politicians worried about the electorate? Are they talking about the voter? Do they even know what the voter is interested in? Are we considering the voter in this 2019 general elections?
Well, you see, 4 years ago, if you had asked me this question, probably I would have answered, because then I was a spokesperson for a political party. Today I'm the spokesperson for government. But having said that, I can say that a government that feeds 9,200,000 people every day, a government that is able to increase the number of rice farmers from 5 million to 11 million, a government that can increase power generation from 4,000 to 7,000, a government that can embark on roads and cut down travel time, is a government of the people. It's a government that has impacted on the lives of people. And what I tell people, like my colleagues, that the choice in 2019 is either you want to go back to the inefficient past, or you want to go and continue with the development of this government. Do you want to go back to a situation where we had only 4,000 megawatts of power, or a situation today where we have 7,000 megawatts of power? I want to go back to a situation where in one day 38 billion naira was siphoned to construct fences around all our dams, and to have helicopters protecting our dams 24 hours against Boko Haram, and nothing was done. Or you want to join a government that has actually said zero to corruption. So the choice is there, and it's easy for people. So for us to campaign, we are going to campaign on issues. We're going to campaign on what we have done. We're going to campaign on how we have revamped the economy, how we have created more jobs. We're going to campaign on how we have been able to improve the infrastructure, and how successful our social intervention programs have been.
All right, just one last question before we take the reactions from our viewers that have come in by tweets through our Twitter handle, which is at NTAGMN. Political observers will say that the credibility, freeness and fairness of an election will depend not just on the electoral management body, in this case INEC, but also of the government of the day. What assurances are there from the incumbent administration with regard to the coming 2019 elections?
I think Mr. President has said it several times. I think the last time was about just a week ago, that this government will not interfere in the management of these elections, and that elections will not only be free and fair, it will be credible. And I think this government has shown through all the elections that are taking place that it would leave INEC to conduct elections, and not that alone, would work to provide INEC with necessary tools to conduct free and fair election. The EU team was in my office, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, they were in my office, and I also assured them that this government would ensure that the elections are free and fair, because we are confident that our records and our achievement is all we need to campaign.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take the tweets that have come in now. Daily Jack Solomon, INEC, government, political parties and other stakeholders should handle the 2019 general elections carefully for the sake of national unity. This they must not fail to do.
And let's take the next one from Festus Akimboyewa. He says, during electioneering campaigns for the 2019 elections, politicians should discuss policy change on issues that affect Nigerians such as security, healthcare, education, financial safety, jobs, and morality.
And the next one is from Oladimeji Morufu. Nigeria is our fatherland. Politicians should not encourage violence.
And Mike Anyako tweets, electioneering campaign must be based on issues and not attacks on personalities. Hate speech should also be discountenanced by candidates. It is high time INEC look into campaign funds of the candidates.
Law Alpha C, the electoral empire and security agencies should monitor political campaigns to ensure that they are devoid of ethnic sentiments.
And the next one is from Law Alpha C again. Money politics has come to stay, and it's a cankerworm that has eaten deep into the political fabric of the highly impoverished people.
And Mike Ayankwo has this tweet: electioneering campaign is an integral part of an election. It gives the contestants the opportunity to showcase their manifestos to the electorate. The campaigns in Nigeria must conform to the laws prescribed by INEC. Unfortunately, some politicians deviate from the norms and rules.
And let's take this last one from Mutana Farouk. He says, electioneering campaigns should be undertaken to achieve political goals, but what plays out in the political arena today is a total contrast. Electioneering campaign must not be seen as an avenue for castigation.
All right, those are the tweets that we can take. We'd like to thank you for sending those tweets. But we are still on this subject matter. But right now, we're going to have to appreciate the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, for being with us on the program this morning. When we return from this short break, we'll have two other guests who will join us to discuss the issue.
For the patients of typhoid and diarrhea is our responsibility. And these illnesses are often spread due to eating with unclean hands. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Communication technologies allow the free flow of information to and from one source and another. Are these sources authentic? If the sources are not verifiable, then it's fake news. Don't share, don't kill. Fake news kills. This message is brought to you by NTA News 24.
All right, thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. To continue our conversation this morning, we have more guests in the studio. I'll start by introducing Dr. Abubakar Kari, who is a lecturer at the University of Abuja and also a public affairs analyst. Dr. Kari, good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, also in the studio, we have Samson Itodo, who is one of our regulars. He's the executive director at Yaga Africa. Samson, good to have you join us this morning.
Always a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Welcome.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin. That's still about 3 weeks away before the formal commencement of political campaigns for the 2019 elections. But we've always had you both, whenever we are discussing the issues pertaining to elections and the lead up to the primaries and all the matters pertaining thereto. What are your concerns and indeed expectations with regard to electioneering for 2019? Let's begin with Dr. Kari.
Well, I think we are a bit lucky this time around. Unlike in 2015, what I'm predicting is a less rancorous electioneering. Simply because the major candidates, okay, so to say, share almost the same, if not similar demographic profiles. So there will be less cases of trying to manipulate our normal fault lines of religion, region, ethnicity, and so on. However, at the lower levels, particularly in the states, it may not be so, because there are some flashpoints. There are several states where the stakes are very high. The level of desperation so far exhibited by some of the parties may be quite alarming. Largely, therefore, I envisage, okay, that this time around perhaps we will not be so tense and apprehensive. However, the general attitude of the political class and even the electorate will also dovetail into the kind of campaign that we are going to witness.
All right, let's go quickly to Samson Itodo. November 18 is not far away and campaigns will start shortly. How prepared are we for the 2019 elections, talking about political parties, politicians, and the electorate?
I think it will be self-deceit to say that the campaigns have not started. Because in actual fact, campaigns have started, and we can see the frenzy of elections is already on everybody, which is an aberration of the law, because the election timetable is clear on when electoral campaigns should commence. Of course, with the party primaries, you can see all the main actors are actually breaking the law. And I think it's important to condemn that, stakeholders, particularly political parties and candidates, should respect the law. The law is clear that political campaigns should start 90 days before the date of an election. But having said that, with respect to preparations, but just to also piggyback on what Dr. Kari said, I think in as much as the candidates actually share the same demographic profile, the political parties have a critical role to play. And what we'll probably see is that if you look at the leaders of the two main political parties, they also share the same demographic profile. But if you also look at their personalities, both of them have the tendency of actually heating up the polity with some of the statements that they make and not being professional in the public statements that they make or in their campaigns. And it's important to draw attention to the fact that the conduct of the parties and how they manage their affairs in the build-up to the elections can actually undermine not just the integrity, but also impact on the peace that we expect to record in the elections. But with respect to preparations, the Electoral Commission has said that as a commission, they are prepared and getting ready for the elections. But there are a couple of factors. First, this is about 100 and something days to the 2019 elections. The electoral law is yet to be finalized. The National Assembly has just passed the amendments. They've gone on recess. I expect that the bill will be transmitted to the President, perhaps, if not this week, next week. Also expect that the President will treat this with the urgency that it deserves, to assent to the electoral amendment bill have passed by the National Assembly, because all the concerns that he raised, I believe, have been addressed by the National Assembly. But the politics and the management of our electoral law and the amendments have not been very, very positive for the preparations for the election. So it's important, because a lot of amendments that was passed by the National Assembly, but it have huge impact on the 2019 elections, be them on the process and procedure of INEC, or with respect to guidelines, or even the conduct of other stakeholders like political parties as well as the security agencies. So it's very, very important to address that. The second critical issue is also around the candidate selection process and compliance with the laws and the timetable of elections. INEC has published the particulars of candidates, and it's important to also use this medium to also tell Nigerians that the list, INEC is not publishing the list of candidates. The list of candidates, if you look at the timetable, will be published sometime in January. And what INEC is publishing now is the particulars of candidates, because that's what the law actually says, that 7 days after submission of list, INEC should publish the particulars. The importance of this is for voters and also party members should go to the constituencies and INEC offices where these particulars are published to actually verify whether the documents and the information provided by the candidates in their forms are credible and authentic. And if you have any reason to doubt the credibility of the information, Section 31 of the Electoral Act is clear on the procedure you can take to object, or even provide information that if this person say they have ABCD certificate, or they come from this constituency, and you have information to actually contradict that, then you can approach the courts of law. But if you look at the party primaries and how they've also been managed, you're already seeing a litany of pre-election cases that the court will have to grapple with. And this is further exacerbated, not necessarily exacerbated, but with the constitutional amendment on the determination of pre-election matters, which stakeholders seem not to be very much aware that amongst the bills that the president assented to on the constitutional amendment bills was the bill for the determination of pre-election matters that provides 14 days for filing of any pre-election cases, and pre-election cases were defined as all matters relating to the candidate selection process. So you got 14 days from that occurrence. It also gives jurisdiction to election tribunals to address pre-election matters, and you're beginning to see a lot of cases emanating from the party primaries, and how the judiciary expeditiously dispense these cases has great implications for the elections. If you look at the part of even citizens, there's a lot of appetite on the part of citizens to participate. Currently, INEC is distributing the permanent voters card for those who registered in the whole of last year, as well as the first quarter of 2018, and they hope to commence the distribution of PVCs for those who registered in the second quarter in a couple of weeks. I think it's important for citizens to also prepare themselves, for those who have not collected their PVCs, to go and collect their permanent voters card, as well as for those who are yet to collect theirs, ensure that once INEC publishes its timelines, it's important that they go collect their permanent voters card. But at the heart of our preparations is election security. We've just come out of Osun, and I think it's important we don't move away from Osun too soon. because the Osun election threw up a lot of issues that needs to be addressed. And first was the discourse around the conduct of security agencies and their involvement in elections. What we saw in Osun was state-sponsored voter suppression. And that needs to be condemned as we march towards the 2019 elections. A situation where you've got security agencies actually preventing voters from coming to cast their vote actually raises a lot of doubt around the integrity and the impartiality of our security agencies. And it's important that we speak about this issue and we continue to urge security agencies to uphold democratic principles of civil policing and be patriotic and transparent and impartial in the management of election security.
All right, Sami Toto, thank you very much. You've raised a number of issues, I mean, right, from what needs to be done with regard to the appropriate piece of legislation, right up to voting day itself, which has to do with the conduct of security agencies that you just talked about. Dr. Kari, here we are, the extant law with regard to election management relates to the 2019, relates to the Electoral Act of 2010 as amended. 4 years ago, the National Assembly tried to amend the Electoral Act. Unfortunately, that process wasn't consummated before the 2015 general elections. There are a number of steps that have already been taken on the basis of the previous, on the basis of the existing law. Well, some persons are saying, fair enough, that the National Assembly is proceeding with the amendment and the President is being urged to do that. Whenever the President does that, then of course that law kicks in. But electioneering campaigns, earlier you were talking about the fact that the major candidates in the presidential election have similar backgrounds in terms of their demographics, but that the campaign will be more intense at the subnational level, where you have all kinds of interests, being thrown up. What do we foresee in terms of electioneering? Because that's our main focus right now. I mean, as Sami Toto said, campaigns have virtually started. I've always raised that point on Good Morning Nigeria, even with ANEC officials being on site with us, to say, what posters and billboards, you're not tearing them down. Those form parts of campaigns. But let's say the formal flag off of campaigns will be in about 3 weeks. But what should we expect in terms of electioneering? That will have to involve security. It will also involve access to the media. It will involve also, not just access to the media, the political advertisement, and more importantly, political communication.
Yeah, okay. Let me start on a lighter note by saying that that particular provision that says that a whistle has to be blown first before a campaign begins, I think to me it should be a sponge, because it is seriously observed in the breach, and we shouldn't continue to deceive ourselves. Usually campaign begins almost immediately after the swearing of a new set of leadership. And as we mentioned, if you go all over the place, cities, towns, villages, you see billboards, posters, and so on. In fact, even some jingles. And during the primaries, what actually happened was serious campaign. But by and large, I think the color, context, and structure of the campaign that we are going to witness largely depends on compliance or non-compliance by the critical stakeholders within the political process. The political parties, the candidates, the electorates, security agencies, and so on and so forth. I say compliance because their conduct and behavior and how they should act and behave are actually provided for in the external laws, the Constitution and the Electoral Acts. The devil usually is in whether they are ready and willing to comply. And there is this notorious reality that where there is non-compliance, hardly nothing happens. But particularly the INEC must be seen to be completely impartial. It must be up and doing. The members of the political class should approach electioneering with the nation in mind, that this is an election a simple contest. At the end of the day, somebody is going to win, another person is going to lose, but the country should remain. Therefore, we expect them to conduct themselves very well, even though this is an ideal, because at the end of the day, the health of the democratic enterprise wholly depends on their compliance or non-compliance with the rule of the game. The electorate too, we expect nothing but good behavior from them. They should listen to the politicians, the political parties, the candidates, and try to choose among them without necessarily getting drawn into the murky waters of politics.
So my question is, who should drive the process to ensure that these critical stakeholders adhere to the rules?
Well, as I mentioned earlier on, the behavior and conduct is already provided for in the legal framework. INEC is in the forefront of this because it's supposed to monitor the conduct and behavior of political parties and to an extent sanction them. Security agents too have a role to play. Where there is non-compliance, particularly of criminal nature, it is supposed it's supposed to enforce the full rights of the law. The law courts are also there to ensure that members of the political class and members of the electorate comply. And therefore, the drivers are indeed all the stakeholders. If all of them behave the way they are, the way the law says they should behave, so I think we are going to have a seamless process.
All right, thank you very much. Sami Todo, one aspect from the recent experience in terms of standalone elections, excuse me, we have seen the phenomenon of see and buy, money politics. How then will the content of campaigns matter ahead of 2019? I mean, you can have all the billboards, you can have all the jingles, all the posters, and all the advertisements that you need to have. When it's voting day and voting time, how do you make those messages matter rather than see and buy? In other words, how do you begin to prepare to deal with the influence of money on voting day?
That's a hard nut to crack. And the reason why it's a hard nut to crack is we are the poverty capital of the world. And that just answers it. Whilst we talk about the values of integrity and patriotism, the gospel truth is, for someone who has not eaten 3 square meals in a day, and who does not even have hope of eating tomorrow, and he sees a politician dangling 5,000 naira before him, they won't be able to resist the temptation to collect those money. But that's not a justification. And when you talk about how, first is the need for a very strong and radical messaging that changes the orientation of the average voter. That when you collect monies, when you sell your vote, what you simply do is you mortgage your future. You lose your voice. And so if someone wins an election, the person will not be accountable to you. And we also need to think in the long term and what is actually good for what we call our own common good and for the good of all. And so we must rise up and condemn. We've been condemning it, and NTA has also been playing a leading role in condemning vote buying. We need to continue to condemn it and urge voters not to be deceived and not to be drawn to this enticement and the gifts and the monies that politicians actually give. It's very, very important. The second stream is accountability. And the fact that, I have said it before, that we have observed that the 2 main parties are culprits when it comes to vote buying. but we need to actually rise up and hold them accountable. And the security agencies have a critical role to play. That on the day of elections, it is important that for security agencies who are deployed, they should apprehend any individual, irrespective of party, who is involved in trading and buying, in trading of votes, and even those who are actually selling their votes. Because what you're seeing is even voters are willfully selling their votes, and so that also needs to be addressed. The third stream is around the campaign financing. It just beats my imagination how a party can actually mobilize billions of naira on the day of elections, and no institution of state is raising those questions. It then tells you that there's complicity on the part of the state itself in encouraging this clientelistic politics that we play, or vote buying. For me, those are actions that we need to take. But the truth is, it is sad that this is happening within our political process. It's been there before, but citizens have a role to play. That when like Harry said, when candidates come to campaign, as from November 18th, there are only three things that should determine who gets your vote. One is the capacity of the candidate, the character of the candidate, and then the competence of the candidate. And it's not about the money that the political party or even the candidate provides.
Dr. Kari, yes. your thoughts on this with regard to resolving the tension between the content of political campaigns and see and buy, that is money politics on the day of voting, that could make nonsense of all the electionary campaigns?
Well, the last time I was here, I put it okay, rather funnily, that whenever there are willing buyers and sellers, there will be a market. It's unfortunate, but it's one of the most notorious political realities of present Nigerian political process. And as Samson mentioned, the solution, as far as I'm concerned, lies in the critical institution of states playing their role, and second, in ending impunity. It is actually impunity that encourages and fuels this vote buying. For instance, people are arrested in Osun, few people, we have not heard anything about them. If they are prosecuted and diligently prosecuted, and people see that they have that some kind of conviction has been obtained, it will serve as a deterrent. This thing festers because virtually all the perpetrators believe that at the end of the day, nothing will come out of it. And if nothing continues to come out of it, people will engage in it. That's the nature of crime. So end impunity, critical institution of state should play their role. And even if we don't eliminate vote buying, we will substantially reduce it.
All right, Dr. Abubakar Kari, who teaches at the University of Abuja and is a public affairs analyst, a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you always for your contributions and your thoughts. We also would like to appreciate Samson Itodo, Executive Director of Yaga Africa. He was, of course, one of those in the forefront of the Not Too Young to Run campaign, which, of course, is now the law of the Federal Republic. Samson Itodo, always delight having you and your insights on Good Morning Nigeria. So that does it for our conversation this morning. Let's go over now to sports.
Football governing body FIFA on Thursday published its latest FIFA rankings of the national teams. Compared to their position in the previous month, the Super Eagles of Nigeria rose 4 positions to number 44, while they are third in the continental ranking, behind Tunisia and Senegal. The Super Eagles' 2 victories against the Mediterranean Knights in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers led to a rise in their ranking. Congo Democratic Republic and Morocco complete the top 5 teams in that order. The top 5 countries in the rankings are Belgium, France, Brazil, Croatia and England. And in tennis, Roger Federer won 17th consecutive match at the Swiss Indoor on Thursday, dispatching Jan Lennard Sufri 6-3, 7-5 to reach the quarterfinals. the top seed unbeaten in Barcelona since 2013, is an 8-time winner of the home event and will face Frenchman Gilles Simon.
Let's now join the Nigerian Meteorological Agency for the weather outlook for the rest of the day.
Hello and welcome to the weather forecast for Friday. With the end of the rainy season fast approaching over the north of the country, we expect weather activities over these areas to dwindle, while a lot of the weather we expect over the weekend should be mostly concentrated around the central state and the southern half of the country. And for the overview of Friday's forecast, we expect everywhere to start in partly cloudy and sunny conditions in most places, with the exception of areas around the southern inland of the southeast, where we could see some thunderstorms over part of Makurdi, Enugu, and the coastal areas of Calabar and Port Harcourt. And as we go up north, we expect areas to be cloudy in partly cloudy condition also, with the exception of few places in Kaduna and Niger State, where some overnight to early morning thunderstorms are likely. And as the afternoon evolves over most places, we anticipate scattered thunderstorms over part of the country from the high ground of the central state, with areas around Abuja, Lokoja, part of Taraba states, areas around Wambila Plateau, and the southern half of the country over the southwest region to the southeast coast and the inland could see some scattered thunderstorms activities in the late evening hours of the day. And that's where we end this edition of the weather forecast from Nigerian Meteorological Agency. I'm Olubide Damola, and thank you for watching.
All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria. I would like to thank you for tuning in, as always. Good Morning Nigeria is broadcast 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. weekdays. We're back on Monday now with a fresh edition of the program. Asking you to enjoy your weekend, and of course before then, a lovely day. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Joy Usiago. Have a wonderful weekend.